just alleviated, unwind, and heal another heartache. I fall behind for doing nothing at all. We're young, it's ready for the taking. You're gone, another chance I wasted. Everything's fine, I'm doing nothing at all. I feel 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 nothing at all.
Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Loud, unfiltered, and live nationwide. It's the Alex Strofe Show, presented by Cream City Central.
This is the year, even in a first-year system with Mike McCarthy, that Dallas has to win the NFC East. They have to. If Dallas doesn't win the NFC East this year, something is majorly wrong.
Want to chime in? Join the live chat on either Facebook or Twitter at Cream City Central. Your comment could be featured on today's show. From the WWSP 90 FM studios in Stevens Point, Wisconsin, here's Alex Strofe.
What's up? Happy Tuesday. This is the Alex Strofe Show presented by Cream City Central. I'm Alex Strofe, as always, that way, alongside producer Kyle. Chime in, Facebook, Twitter. We've got so much to dive into. I'm overwhelmed for once. So that's a good sign. There's so much to talk about that I'm overwhelmed for once, which has not been the case.
News. It's not good news, but there is
not all of it. No, not all of it.
No. I mean, most of it is, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, not all of it, but and we'll get to college football here in a second because that's going to take at least 20 minutes to get through. And I'm curious on all of your thoughts. So we're going to open the phone lines here right in the first hour, 877-878-7683. Anything you've got on the college football sphere as the Big Ten has announced its fall cancellation / postponement to the spring. The Pac-12 now has announced their cancellation is what it sounds like. More details will become available of that shortly. So we'll get into all that here in a few minutes. But I want to jump into the Wisconsin's scope just briefly, if you don't mind. But before we do that, just want to preview the show for you today. Eric Bushinger, who is a college writer for DeceptiveSpeed.com, will join us in about a half an hour to break down everything going on in the world of college sports because it has been absolutely hectic. So he'll join me in about a half an hour. Luca Rosano, we're going to go north of the border here out of Toronto. He is a big sports media personality over on YouTube. And TikTok has been his new adventure. I'll ask him about that at about 4:15. He's going to jump in to talk Raptors. The Raptors and Bucks played last night. The Bucks ultimately came out with the loss. The Bucks did. 114-106. Now the Bucks 2-4 in bubble play, but we really got to look at the inactives, right? Kyle Lowry, Fred VanVleet, and Serge Ibaka all inactive last night for Toronto, while Giannis Antetokounmpo was out with oral surgery recovery. So Giannis had a tooth surgery of some sort, didn't play yesterday. And guess what, folks? He didn't even have to leave the bubble. And, we remember Rajon Rondo mentioning just about a month ago today, I think it was, that the NBA bubble was like a Motel 6. But, I still can't believe that Rajon Rondo compared a freaking Disney resort where they serve you Mickey Mouse waffles to a Motel 6 where they keep the lights on because their creepy hallways shouldn't be dark. So that's quite the comparison. But nonetheless, so Giannis didn't have to leave the bubble, doesn't have to quarantine. He's questionable for tonight. Chris Middleton out tonight. Dante DiVincenzo out tonight. Eric Bledsoe, I believe, out tonight as well. I don't have the injury report in front of me, but it's lengthy. as the team they play tonight, the Washington Wizards, already bounced from playoff contention. So again, it doesn't matter. Bucks 2-4. Whatever happens tonight, again, doesn't matter. They know their first round fate. They'll have Orlando. So that's about all I've got on Bucks right now. But we'll get to more with Luca Rosano next hour. The Brewers lost again last night, 4-2. They're now 6-8. Almost nice. Kyle wrote in my notes. Thanks, producer Kyle. Brewers offense is bad, but they will play again in Miller Park tonight as the Brewers try to climb back to 500. Josh Lindblom is on the mound for Milwaukee tonight against the Twins, once again, who had a grand slam in the third inning last night. So that's always good. But curious on your thoughts on this topic as we get to it. The Big Ten college football season has been postponed. All fall sports have been. That includes volleyball, obviously Wisconsin volleyball, a national powerhouse the last several years for the Badgers. But the Big Ten has canceled the college football season and has postponed it to spring, according to Pete Thamel. That's been a lot of speculation, but he confirmed it earlier this afternoon. And as we were in our prep meeting the last 2 hours, I mean, the news just kept evolving into something more, and they kept rolling, and snowballing into a bigger thing, because now it ultimately led us to this, a postponement of fall sports for the Big Ten this fall. It'll be the first fall since 1888 that there is no Badgers football in the fall. Producer Kyle really took over on the research. I mean, he told the research team to step aside, and Kyle went digging. He found 1888 was the last time that the Badgers did not have fall football. Incredible stuff there. So there you go. The Big Ten's been leading the charge. I mean, all the way, right? They were the first team, they were the first conference, to announce that there would be they would be playing an only conference schedule, a conference only schedule, They were the first conference to make that move. Other conference follow suit. Now they are the first Power 5 conference to announce postponements / cancellation of their fall sports, and now it's looking like conferences again will follow suit. So there you have it. So the Big Ten and the Pac-12 has postponed that. I'm just reading, some of the things that are coming through. I mean, this is such a new and fluid situation. I'm trying to act on my feet. But again, curious on your takes on this. You can chime in either in the Twitter or Facebook live chats. Give me a call or text 877-8-STROFE. That is on the bottom line, that number, for more of that. Now, I want to get to Barry Alvarez and Rebecca Blank, who is the chancellor of UW-Madison. They released a joint statement less than an hour ago saying this: for many months, we had hoped that the return of fall collegiate sports might be an opportunity to restore some sense of normalcy and provide brighter moments for our university, our city, and our state. Even so, today's decision by the Big Ten to postpone the fall 2020 sports season is the correct one. It goes on to say, as the Big Ten statement indicates, sports are simply different from other campus activities. There is no way to preserve physical distancing during competition, and masking can make competition very difficult. There are also a variety of unknowns about the interaction of COVID-19 with extreme physical exertion. As a result, playing the fall season would pose risks that we think are not acceptable for our student athletes and our athletic staff. End quote. Again, that's from Athletic Director Barry Alvarez and Chancellor Rebecca Blank of UW-Madison. Like I said, about less than an hour ago. But the Big Ten features 8 of the top 28 academic schools in the Power 5. And as I mentioned, they've been leading the charge since discussions began. When the P5 went to conference only, it was the Big Ten. When cancellation talk began yesterday, it was the Big Ten. Not the SEC, not the Pac-12, but it was the Big Ten. And after the Big Ten announced their cancellation / postponement earlier today, right before we went on the air, a Pac-12 source tells Stadium's Brett McMurphy, quote, "We're done. We're done." That's the quote. 2 words. We're done. I guess it's as simple as that. So I don't know what that means for the Pac-12, an official announcement is expected in about 20 minutes. So we'll hopefully have some more details. But the thing that's really coming to me, like what I'm taking away from what's gone down today, is that the plan isn't to cancel fall football. The plan isn't to cancel fall football. It is to postpone fall football and make it spring football. And I have an issue with spring football, as does the National Football League. Not publicly, but they have to. As does most people. Spring football doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense, and it's not going to work. Spring football's not going to work, and here's why. Let's think about this. Who was the one league, in the last, what has it been now, 6 months? Almost. 5.5, 6 months. In the last 5.5, 6 months, what was the one league that didn't change a damn thing for anybody else? And that includes COVID. Who was the one league? It was the National Football League. And when is the National Football League's draft? It is at the end of April. And what has to happen before a draft happens? Scouting, pro days, evaluations, an NFL combine potentially. However that's going to look this spring. If you're playing a college football season in the middle of this, that's going to make everything difficult. And if you think the National Football League is going to waver when its draft happens because college football got moved to the spring, I feel bad for you. Because that's not what's going to happen. And we can get excited because everybody loves college football, right? It's entertaining, it's flashy, it's high intensity constantly. It's pure entertainment on Saturdays. But when that moves to the spring, we'll still get that, but there's going to be more problems than just testing and COVID that surround this. COVID's not going away. You're still going to have to pay a lot of money to test your athletes to make sure they are in shape, in the condition, in the proper health, in the proper mindset, in the proper health spectrum, if you will. That you need to check off a lot of things. And, if you delay that from August and September to February and March, not a whole lot's going to change. Not a whole lot's going to change at all. And it's outrageous that you think spring football could work because it just won't work. I mean, there's so many factors that you can put in to the college football season happening in spring. And I'll come back with you with 3 reasons why it won't work. Because you look at the National Football League. I mentioned the draft. That won't move. It didn't move for a freaking pandemic. You think it's going to move for college football? No. But let's look at the other side of this, right? Let's look at it from a college football scope. Okay, let's say you start the season and spring camp in February. Let's go with February, early spring, when there's 4 feet of snow on the ground in Ann Arbor and Madison, in Champaign, Illinois. When there's 3 feet of snow on the ground there. Let's start there. Okay, we play our season. We get through the college football playoff, which probably happens when? April or May? Great. And now 3 months later, you're going to be gearing up for another college football season? Do you think it's smart? Do you think it's rational? Do you think it's possible to have not 1, but 2 college football seasons in the course of 8 or 9 months? Tell me, that's not possible for any league. At the collegiate level, at the high school level, at the professional level. You cannot start and end 2 complete seasons, especially football, in 8 or 9 months. It's just not plausible. It's not. And you look at every other factor, right? Weather. I mentioned the 3 feet of snow that would be on the ground in Madison, Wisconsin. It's not like Camp Randall is a dome. Their last game, typically played in Madison, is like November 28th or somewhere around there, right? I'm just throwing out a random date. The last game in Camp Randall is played around that date. And how much snow is on the ground then? What are the temperatures then? About 25 outside, maybe some snow on the ground. Camp Randall's never played in Camp Randall when there's a lot of snow on the ground. Where do bowl games happen in January? Warm places typically. Like the one outlier there is Yankee Stadium for the Pinstripe Bowl. But outside of that, it's warm, tropical destinations that don't have snow. And you're telling me you're going to play 2 or 3 months of football. And this especially impacts the Big Ten. It's Midwest schools. When there's snow on the ground. And I know that seems like an easy problem to fix, right? Offer college kids $10 an hour. They'll come shovel it for you. You got, 10,000, 20,000 kids at your disposal that could probably use a couple bucks. I get that. But it's never been done before. I mean, you're not unloading the snow in Camp Randall ever. That doesn't happen because it's not necessary. That's just one factor. But if we're talking about the health and safety of our student athletes, what are we going to tell the guy that tears his ACL in March? Oh, sorry, not only did you just lose the entirety of your junior year, you also just lost your senior year. I mean, isn't this obvious? If we're doing this for the health and well-being of our student athletes, how in the hell are you going to play 2 seasons in 8 months? It's just not logical. It's not plausible. It's not possible. It's not. And as much as I'd like to sit here and, pray and hope and wait for the day that college football comes back, we're going to be waiting for another 365 days. You can't push football to the spring. And that is the one sport that can't really move. You can move basketball to the spring. You can move volleyball to the spring. But you can't move football to the spring. It just doesn't work. I mean, think about the tourist impact, right? When would you rather go to Madison? When would you rather go to homecoming? In March and April or September and October? It makes a whole hell of a lot more sense to have football in fall. And if you're going to sit here and tell me that the cancellation was done because we don't have facts and it's for the health and well-being of our student athletes, then don't have a spring season. It's as simple as that. If you actually give a damn about the health and well-being of your student athletes, you cannot successfully pull off a spring football season. The other sports might work. I look at volleyball, in the Wisconsin standpoint, volleyball would work in the spring. That one's movable because the next level for volleyball is Olympics or bar league. I mean, it's just the reality of volleyball in this country. It's the collegiate level, it's the Olympic level, and that's about all you got. So volleyball works, but there's not a draft in the middle of your season. And you can't have an NFL draft in the middle of the season, but you expect Raj to move because college football did? No. If you move the college football season to the spring, tests are still going to be just as expensive. COVID tests for your student athletes. It's not like this disease, this pandemic is just going to evaporate as the calendar turns another year. It's just a harsh reality, and it's hard to accept. Of course it sucks. Of course I want college football as much as the next guy. I work on the D3 level. I'm losing paychecks. I get it. My job relies on sports to happen. So don't say that I don't want sports, because of course I want sports. But if you're going to cancel a fall football season and try to move it to the spring, sorry, you're SOL. I mean, that's really where we're at right now. You're SOL if you're the Big Ten, the Pac-12, the AC. I mean, any of those Power 5 conferences especially. And now I want to turn your attention to the Twitter page at Cream City Central on Twitter. Today's Twitter poll is the following. Who was hurt most by the Big Ten football season postponement? Your options are student athletes, local economies, athletic departments, and the National Football League, which has a whopping 0 votes. The National Football League does. 41 votes in, 63.4% vote student athletes, which is absolutely true. If this was a straight up cancellation, I think it affects student athletes maybe a little bit more. You look at guys that are like seniors and ready to go to that next level and they don't get that season. You don't want to wait around and play through uncertainty and wait for eventually when you get the go ahead from your conference. This pandemic obviously hurts every conference, every major conference. Well, really any conference. I mean, you could boil this down all the way to the D3 level, and it affects everybody, from student athletes to athletic departments to local economies at every level. But especially those Power 5 conferences and their student athletes, they will be especially affected by what's going on. This cancellations, these postponements. I want to go to the Facebook chat. Peyton Boucher says, do you think that any teams, if the SEC does their own thing, will leave their conference and join them? Now, I don't think you can do that on a permanent basis, obviously, but for a one-season tryout, essentially, if you want to roll with, the SEC still does it because they're smash mouth deep South roots, and that is sports that down there, right? That is professional sports. Alabama, Mississippi, South Carolina, etc. They eat, breathe, and love their college sports down there. So do I think it's possible? Yeah, I know Ohio State is talking about the potential. And James Franklin of Penn State went on Get Up this morning and said all options are available. So it's not that every team and every school is for what happened in the Big Ten today, because Ohio State and Penn State, especially, have spoken out and said, "Yeah, we're gonna look at everything, even if and when this gets canceled." I think it's possible, Peyton. I think that's a really good question. I appreciate you stopping by and posting that, because you have no idea. I mean, as I said at the top, this situation's so damn fluid. It changes every day. And you have no idea what we're going to be looking at in 2 weeks, let alone 2 days. When I'm on these airwaves on Thursday, we're going to be talking about the situation entirely different than I am right now. Except my stance on one thing won't change, and that is how spring football just doesn't make any damn sense and just won't work. And it sucks. It absolutely sucks. I hate that this is what we're leading off with today, but that has just been the harsh reality of this calendar year, that we have to start with bad news pretty much every time. So college football done in the Big Ten. Excuse me, not done in the Big Ten. Postponed for now in the Big Ten until spring. More details of that will become available as the weeks go on. But the Big Ten, as of now, no fall sports. The first big domino to fall. Obviously, the MAC, the MAC, canceled their season. I believe it was Friday or Saturday. The Ivy League did it weeks ago because they are very smart. The Mountain West Conference canceled their season as well. So, I mean, there's been cancellations / postponements, but not in the Power 5. Because you know why? Money, 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 money. So that's why that hasn't happened yet. But now the big dominoes start to fall. I still can't get over that quote from a Pac-12 official, the Brett McMurphy of Stadium, that came in, I don't know, 2 minutes, producer Kyle, shake your head, yes or no, probably 5 minutes before we were live. The tweet from Brett McMurphy came out that a Pac-12 source told him, quote, "We're done," end quote. That's it. That's all they had to say about that. We're done. Unreal, man. This is just, I've never, and we've been saying this since March 11th, but we've never seen a situation like this. But I've never seen it handled so sporadically. And we've talked about at the college level how a Power 5 president is now almost necessary to give direction, because there is a clear divide between mid-majors and the Power 5 in every single sport. There's more money involved. And when decisions like this one, which obviously don't happen often, come through, and we're getting all sorts of different reaction from conferences and head coaches, Jim Harbaugh, James Franklin, coming to the media and saying, yeah, we want to play. We'll do whatever it takes. We'll go to the freaking SEC if we have to. It's weird, man. It's weird. But it also brings up the conversation of this now. Obviously, college football looking really, really unlikely for the fall. I mean, let's just leave it at that. I don't think the SEC plays either. I don't think we're getting college football in the fall. And if we do, it's going to be wacky, but that's beside the point. What happens to TV? I mean, what do you do on Saturdays and Fridays? It opens the door for the National Football League to make some schedule switches. And this has just been speculation and, people throwing it out there on Twitter, but Could the NFL legitimately play games on Friday and Saturday this year? 5 days a week, they'd be playing football games. And I think it's absolutely possible. Now, with the cancellation of Big Ten football, the cancellation of Pac-12 football, whatever's next for the other three dominoes. But will the NFL happen on Saturdays and Fridays? They already happen on Thursday, Sunday, and Monday. But this opens the door for Friday and Saturday nights. With no fans, it's totally doable. It's totally plausible. It'd be a hell of a lot of fun, too. Because if we don't have college football, we've got a void to fill, and we've got a void to fill quickly. And the NFL poses a really good opportunity here. And I imagine Raj is already in there with the schedule doers saying, all right, we got to do some mixing and matching. And, Saturdays and Sundays would probably be loaded, 6 games each, and then keep one to Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night. And I don't know how the math adds up there. What is that there? That's 15 games. So, 16 games a week, something like that. 5 on Friday, five primed or noon games on Sunday, whatever it works out to. It's a really good opportunity here for the NFL. And as long as they do it right, and we'll talk about in about a half an hour how they can learn from the MLB, because more stuff is happening constantly by day in the MLB. But if the NFL does it right, if they can sustain a season, now with likely no college football on the weekends, a 5-day-a-week NFL schedule is totally plausible. It's totally plausible. I want to pull in producer Kyle quick if he's available. He might be working the phone lines. You are available.
I'm always available. Come on now.
Good. I just want to get your comments quick on the Big Ten cancellation, if you can do in about, 90 seconds.
I'm not surprised at all. I mean, you look at, and I know you have this in your notes, and I don't think you ever brought it up. When you look at the historically academic forward universities, you're looking at, Wisconsin, you're looking at Ohio State, you're looking at Northwestern, you're looking at these smarter schools. When the Ivy League canceled first, I believe the Ivy League was also the first conference back in March to cancel their conference tournament.
They were.
The Ivy League has the smartest people in the world. If that doesn't tell you anything, there you go. And I want to briefly touch on NFL on Saturdays, because I am obviously all for the idea.
Yeah.
If high school football, as a result, gets canceled, especially, I don't know what we're going to see. I know states have different plans and stuff. I know Wisconsin is postponing their football to, I think, end of September is when games will start. I think you will see Friday night NFL football. You could see football Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And I'm all for it.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
I'm with you 100%. I think it's it makes sense now that college football likely is out of play. And we'll see as we get closer what happens to the SEC, what happens to the ACC, what happens to the Big 12. But look, I mean, everything is going to be solved this week. Everything will be solved by the end of this week. Holy smokes, we are running right through this. I mean, there's so much to get to, and we're going to continue this college football talk next and college sports talk next. Eric Bushinger of DeceptiveSpeed.com joins me next. Don't you dare go anywhere. This is the Alex Strofe Show presented by Cream City Central.
So we'll start with the NFL, because the NFL, like I just said, is in a unique position. And there are a lot of people going back and forth as to whether or not the NFL is going to have fans week one. Are they going to do something similar to Major League Baseball and have 2 different leagues? We'll see how that goes. But some comments I want to touch on from ESPN are John Harbaugh's comments. And this is something interesting, because the NFL has been trying to work out ways for the players to come back and play safely, whether that's through face masks, social distancing in locker rooms, what have you. My own personal opinion on this is either you're just going to play the game or you're not. You can do everything you want to have the players wear masks and be safe in the football field. But then again, football is a contact sport. So a quote from John Harbaugh here, he says, "I've seen all the memos on that, and to be quite honest with you," he's talking about coronavirus and opening up facilities. "It's impossible what they're asking us to do, humanly impossible. So we're going to do everything we can do. We're going to space. We're going to have masks. But, it's a communication sport. We have to be able to communicate with each other in person. We have to practice. I'm pretty sure the huddle is not going to be 6 feet spaced. Are you guys going to shower one at a time all day? Are you guys going to lift weights one at a time all day?" So anyways, Harbaugh goes on and on. just like this, and he's just bringing up obvious points. And to go back to my original point, I believe that they're either going to play the game and just kind of roll with it without such incredible restrictions, or they should just not, because it's either going to be one or the other.
The Lambeau Lead, Cream City Central's official Packers podcast. Download wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm going to read you a quote from one of Giannis's teammates, and then, using your wealth of superstar NBA experience, you are going to read between the lines and tell us if we can actually learn anything from what this teammate has said. So first up, This is from Pat Connaughton on March 31st, so just a few weeks ago. He says, obviously the city of Milwaukee, the team, everyone wants Giannis to be here forever. But Giannis has put himself in a position to provide for his family from growing up with nothing in Greece. I don't think you can fault Giannis for whatever decision he ends up making, that he believes is the best decision for him, his family, the people who are closest to him.
Yo, Pat's a smart dude. Pat's trying to get on teams with Giannis in the future, wherever Giannis is. Pat is not trying to ruffle feathers. Pat is giving a massage right there. That's my gut.
And can you blame him?
Not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, he's a 6'5" white dude who relies on his athleticism. Yeah, I mean, how much of a career does he have left?
There's a ceiling. There's a ceiling. Yeah, man. Of course.
All right, Pat's playing the long game.
Small Ball, Milwaukee Bucks micro podcast, presented by Cream City Central. Download wherever you get your podcasts.
We welcome you back inside the Alex Stroh Show, presented by Cream City Central on a Tuesday. Feeling good, but obviously the bearer of bad news today is what I've been the first 30 minutes we've been on the air. So I'm going to let somebody else deliver the bad news and analyze the bad news because I'm sick of doing it the last half an hour. We go to the phone lines now where Eric Bookinger joins us. He is a college sports writer for DeceptiveSpeed.com. Eric, appreciate you taking the time, my man. How's everything on your end?
Well, my Saturdays are now free for the next several months. So I'll see that I can maybe try to get in shape, maybe try to figure out a new hobby. So obviously bad news today in the world of college football.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Rumors swirling the last couple days, Eric, but official announcement today from the Big Ten, the postponement of fall sports, including football. When you hear this news officially, what's your takeaway and what's your reaction?
Well, it seemed like the last couple of days we were given a little bit of false hope for the last, and it's actually all I could ask for. I was okay with that. All the players with their "We Want to Play" movement. A lot of the coaches the last few days have been getting in the mix as well. And it's just a sad day. The Big Ten announced earlier today that their college football season is not happening in the fall. We will see if it turns into a spring college football season. We'll see if that happens. I'm not exactly sure that's possible, maybe, but also the Pac-12 themselves going in, and they've kind of just gone along with whatever the Big Ten has decided they wanted to do. So the Pac-12 will join them as well. Not great. So we have three power conferences left with the Big 12, the ACC, and the SEC. And looking through Twitter and different reports from different sports writers and people in the media, it really seems like the linchpin in this one is going to be the Big 12. And if the Big 12 decides they're not going to play football, that's going to be the domino effect where it goes down to the ACC. They're going to be done. And then by then it's the SEC that's the lone man standing. And Greg Sankey, the SEC commissioner, earlier today, did say that it's unlikely that the SEC would be the only team or only conference playing college football this season. So if the four Power 5 conferences, like it looks like it's going to be, if they end up calling it quits, saying college football is not happening in the fall, it's likely that the SEC would probably follow suit as well.
We'll get to the SEC talk here in a little bit, Eric. Obviously, some teams talking about jumping ship if that's a possibility. We'll get to that in a couple questions, but I want to ask you about spring football because I just went on about a 10-minute rant about how I don't think it's plausible. I don't think it would work. And if it does work, I don't think it's going to work well. So I want to get your kind of overall analysis on the possibility of spring football, which is what the Big Ten is staring in the face right now.
Yeah, I'm definitely skeptical it's going to happen, but I think it's possible. But if for this to happen, you would have to obviously have 2 shortened seasons, I would imagine.
Yeah.
And just kind of thinking this in my head, it would have to be probably go from February, so like a 10-game schedule, through like mid-April. And with that, you'd probably have the next season starts mid-October. So that's actually probably 6 months off right there. Right now, if your team makes the national championship, they typically have about 7.5 months off from the national championship to the first game of the season, which is typically either late August or early September.
Yeah.
So it turned into a 6 months off season instead of 7.5 months. So I do think it's possible, but obviously both seasons would have to be shortened, I would imagine, because I'm not sure how you can play, especially if you're a team going to the college football playoff, going to the conference championship. There's a possibility you're playing that's 30 games in the matter of however many months that is.
Right, 8-9 months. It just seems,
right.
you know, when we get a release like we do today, and it says we care about the health and safety of our student athletes, and obviously it's different because this is COVID related. But I'm thinking from the injury side too, right? You're playing something like 24 to 30 games in a 9-10 month span. It just seems almost contradictory to me. But maybe that's just me being nitpicky. I don't know.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I don't think there's any way they would play two full college football seasons. That would be insane. The only other thing I'm thinking about with that is like a spring season. I'm just not exactly sure what would change from now until February. If obviously there's the possibility a vaccine comes out, we'll see if that happens. We're not exactly sure. I saw Russia just passed the vaccine today, and they're not exactly sure how well that works. So I probably wouldn't bank on that being the answer there, but. We'll see what happens, but I mean, it's hard to see because that's cold and flu season if we're getting into the spring months like that. So
exactly.
We'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm not sure how much would change because, like, if this is the precedent where we're not playing college football while the coronavirus is still happening, I mean, we have no idea how long it takes for a vaccine to happen. So I was kind of thinking that it would have been possible to maybe delay the season into the fall. And obviously, we're learning more about this every single day, but. Obviously, the Big Ten thought, why wait, and made the decision today.
Absolutely. Eric Bookinger, my guest, owner and writer at DeceptiveSpeed.com. And Eric, I said we'd talk about it. Let's get into it. The SEC potentially could be the end-all, be-all, right, as you said before. James Franklin, head coach of Penn State, was on Get Up on ESPN this morning, said he's looking at all options, even with the postponement/cancellation of a fall season. So is it realistic that the SEC could be the only conference playing football, but they have extra members join them for a fall season?
It seems unlikely for both things. I don't think the SEC would be the only conference. I don't think if the 4 Power 5 decide that college football is not happening in the fall, I think the SEC would follow suit with that. And then as far as whether or not a team from a different conference would be able to join the SEC for this season. We'll see. Obviously, I would say it's unlikely. Basically, the biggest hurdle right now, from what I've seen, is that the TV contract would be a big issue, and the conference has to. Because the big issue right now is Nebraska. They're the team that is really trying to get this in motion. So we'll see if they're successful in doing it. But the TV contract sounds like that's going to be a big hurdle to get past. And I'm not exactly sure if the Big Ten Conference has to sign off on it. But Nebraska, they were one of the teams that it seems like, obviously their coach, Scott Frost, yesterday he was one of the people who was talking about, like, you know what, maybe we'll explore alternative ideas if the Big Ten decides we're not going to be able to play. And then we also saw after the actual announcement today that the Nebraska athletic department, their athletic director put out a statement that said basically the same thing. Like they're going to try to figure out if there's any way they can possibly play. And obviously, if they're going to play, obviously that means they'd be in a different conference. But we'll see what happens because also another thing on that, as far as Nebraska, is pretty much showing that they're against this. Kevin Warren, the Big Ten commissioner on Big Ten Network after this announcement was made, would not comment on whether or not it was a unanimous vote, which obviously means it wasn't. And Nebraska and Iowa seem to be the 2 teams that were pushing hard against canceling fall season. So I don't think it's going to happen where a team from a different conference is able to make it into another one, but we'll see.
We will see. I mean, it's very fluid and ever changing, if you will. I mean, every day there's new stuff coming out. So it's been quite the interesting scenario. Eric Bookinger is my guest, owner and writer at deceptivespeed.com. And Eric, what is the reaction? Obviously, we saw the "we want to play" reaction from student athletes over the weekend, but have you seen anything today from student athletes in the Big Ten? Because this news broke right before I was on the air. I wasn't able to look into it a whole lot. Have you seen anything from that aspect?
Yeah, it's pretty anecdotal because I've only seen a few of them, but there was a player from Michigan who's, I think he announced that he is not going to be playing this fall. That could happen anyways because a lot of college football players right now are opting out because of coronavirus, not sure what's going to happen and getting themselves ready for the draft. I saw a few players from Wisconsin that were very skeptical whether a spring season would happen. Basically, kind of what you said is like, how can we play this many games in this short period of time and talk about player safety, which probably got a valid point. But that's the only few things I've seen. Obviously, players like Justin Fields, obviously one of the best players in college football. Mm-hmm. He's got to be pretty disappointed in this because if Ohio State, which couldn't imagine if Ohio State's able to find themselves in a different conference or somehow be able to play football in the fall, I would imagine you would be a part of it. So far, he said he's interested in playing this fall, but there is no chance he is playing a college football season when it gets to the spring.
Great answer, and I appreciate that insight. You wrote a really nice piece. It kind of broke down the timeline from March to now for DeceptiveSpeed.com. I was able to look at that briefly. Just kind of talk about how we got here, if you could, Eric, because it's been a windy, wacky road to get to where we are here on August 11th.
Sure. Just pull my notes up here quick. It basically all started with the Big Ten on July 9th. The Big Ten became the first FBS conference to announce they're going to a conference-only schedule. And that was pretty controversial at the time,
right?
Because at that point, it was reported by a bunch of media people that the Power 5 commissioners were having weekly conference calls talking about what we're going to do for the coming season. And when this came out on July 9th, the other Power 5 commissioners had no idea this was coming. So basically the Big Ten made this announcement, kind of surprising everybody. So obviously right from the get-go, the entire college football world has not been on the same page. And that started right from the beginning. On July 9th, Big Ten says, we're going to a conference-only season. And that surprised pretty much everybody that they did not expect that to happen. And then basically the next day, which basically we kind of saw this exact same thing today, where the Big Ten makes a decision, and then immediately after the Pac-12 follows suit. They followed the Big Ten's lead, and the next day on July 10th, that they'd have a conference-only schedule, just like the Big Ten would do. And then from there, I mean, every conference pretty much has announced that they're going to conference only. Obviously, it's going to be an issue for the Group of 5 conferences right now. I know the MAC, the Mountain West, both those conferences have announced they're not playing in the fall and hoping for the spring. And then independents like UMass and UConn, they have UMass actually earlier today canceled their college football season for the fall, and UConn did as well last week. So at this point, we're down to, so 51 plus Pac-12. So 63 teams right now have opted out of the college football season for the fall. So yeah, it's been a wild month. Starting from the Big Ten deciding to go conference only up to today, where obviously beginning of the day UMass, not a big story, obviously. No one really cares too much about UMass football at this point, I couldn't imagine. And obviously ending today with the Pac-12 announcing recently, actually, I don't know if you guys saw this, but the Pac-12 announced that even for college basketball, they are canceling everything up until January 1st.
Oh, wow.
So that's a new thing too. So
their official press conference started right when you and I started, or official announcement was released right when you and I started. So I did not see that. I appreciate you breaking that on here. Interesting, not shocking, but interesting nonetheless. Eric, before I let you go, buddy, really appreciate the time. Tell us everything about Deceptive Speed, what you guys got going on over there. Obviously, the cancellation of fall sports doesn't help content a whole lot, but you're still doing some really awesome stuff. So go ahead and plug away.
Yeah, it's a pretty great story. Early January, I was like, you know what? I'm going to kind of drop everything and focus most of my time on this website called DeceptiveSpeed.com. 2 months later, March Madness canceled. A couple months after that, college football canceled. So really hitting all cylinders right now. Perfect timing for that. So you can follow Deceptive Speed at DeceptiveSpeedU. You can check out the website, DeceptiveSpeed.com. We have plenty of new writers that are going to be starting up in the next month or so. I'm really looking forward to that. I've got a talented group of writers in the class of 2020 from the Deceptive Speed student section. We've got a bunch of writers from across the country from different college campuses. So I'm excited for them to get started. So yeah, Deceptive Speed U on Twitter, at Eric Bookinger on Twitter. And we're on pretty much every single social media site, Facebook, Instagram, whatever else ones there are. We're probably on there too. So check it out.
Awesome, man. Really appreciate the time. You keep up the good work. Stay safe and healthy, and we'll chat again soon. All right, Eric?
You bet. Thanks, Alex.
That's Eric Bookinger of DeceptiveSpeed.com. Jumping in the Alex Strofe Show, breaking down everything college football related. Some good insight from him. And as I mentioned, he had a timeline of everything that's gone on in the world of college football that was published on DeceptiveSpeed.com this morning. So you can go find that there at DeceptiveSpeed.com. And some really great insight. I mean, we'll keep this conversation going pretty much, the whole show. I'm getting the coffee burps all of a sudden. I don't know if that's common or just me. But we'll keep that conversation going pretty much the whole show. So anything you have on Big Ten, on the Pac-12, feel free to toss that into the Facebook or Twitter chats or give me a ring. I'd love to chat with you for a couple minutes. 877-878-7683. Producer Kyle waiting to take your calls. So we've got to get to a break. But next, I want to talk about the Cleveland Indians. I mean, the Cleveland Idiots. And how they might have just saved the Major League Baseball season. We'll do that in about 90 seconds. This is the Alex Strofe Show.
And we finally have baseball back.
Baseball's back.
It's back, and I would like to say better than ever, but that's to be determined.
Well, who knows? Maybe this might be fun. This will be a fun season. I have no doubt about that. It's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, but I'm just excited for just that Rob Manfred finally came to his senses and gave us a season.
Yeah, gave the people something they want. Did something right.
So the details came out. It's going to be a 60-game season, which I honestly think benefits the Brewers. What is it? 10 games against each division opponent. I'm assuming 5 home, 5 away. And then the remaining games are going to be for the Brewers at least, it'll be against the AL Central opponents.
Yeah, and I believe it'll be 4 per team, because then that'll equal the remaining 20.
Yeah, so honestly, do you agree with me that the Brewers benefit from a shorter season?
It's interesting that you say that, because one of the first things when I started to think about a shorter season was how the Brewers are going to be able to use their pitching staff. And I'm really intrigued on what Craig Counsell is going to come up with every day for how he's going to utilize this staff. I'm just really excited about kind of the strategy that we can play into that. Also, the DH. That's huge. That extends a lot of people's careers, especially in the NL. So a lot of good things could really come out of this for sure.
Bernie's Bums, the official Brewers podcast of CreamCityCentral.com. Download wherever you get your podcasts today.
Loud, unfiltered, and live nationwide. It's the Alex Strofe Show, presented by Cream City Central.
Welcome you back inside the Alex Strofe Show, presented by Cream City Central. Big thanks again to Eric Bookinger for dropping by, dropping some college football knowledge on us for about 15 minutes. As the Big Ten has postponed its season, the Pac-12 has canceled all athletic events for the calendar year. And this is my response to the Pac-12, because Eric dropped that on us right before he head out. Look, as I said earlier, I'm just going to repeat what I said, and we'll move on to what I want to get to next. But you can cancel all of your athletic events for the the calendar year. That's fine. But the coronavirus isn't going to go away with the flip of the calendar. When it goes from December to January, it's still going to exist. It's a virus. I mean, it doesn't just disappear because the year changed. So there you go. According to Brett McMurphy of Stadium, the Pac-12 has canceled all sports through the end of 2020. That doesn't completely rule out basketball. It doesn't rule out conference play really at all. So the important part of the basketball season is still alive for the Pac-12, and obviously quite a few powerhouses in the Pac-12 for basketball, Oregon being one, of course. So there you go. There you have that from the Pac-12, the Big Ten leading the charge today, as always. But I want to move on. I want to go to the world of baseball. And I referred earlier in the show, I said, maybe the NFL can learn a few things from the MLB, because we've talked about plenty of times, the bubble just isn't possible for the National Football League. You can't expect, dudes, what is it? We did the math. It was like 120 guys to go into a bubble for up to 7 months without their family, without their wife, without whatever. And most hotels max out at about 115 rooms. So it'd be very difficult to do an NFL bubble. But maybe they can learn a thing from the MLB, who's obviously not doing a bubble. The MLB has, obviously kept their traveling down between the two divisions, right? So the NL Central plays the AL Central. We stay mainly in the Midwest, and you stay in a hotel when you're on a road trip. And last week we talked about, or 2 weeks ago now, we talked about how Major League Baseball finally implemented a rule that said when you're on the road, you can't leave the hotel. You can't do that. And we finally had our first case over the weekend on Saturday of that happening. So on Friday night in Chicago, Cleveland Indians pitcher Zach Plesac was out on the town. We don't know exactly what he was doing, but he came back to the hotel at 3 a.m. and he was caught red-handed, right? He got caught. They knew he left the ballpark. So they got him a rental car, which is just about as humiliating as it gets, and said, hey, man, drive from Chicago to Cleveland in a Nissan. And they just, they exiled this guy from the hotel to a rental car from Chicago back to Cleveland and to his bedroom for 14 days because he left the hotel. So all is good. Plesac gets sent home. The Indians are fine, right? Now, yesterday, Monday, they got back to Cleveland. The Indians did. And all of a sudden, news emerges that Mike Clevinger has been placed on the COVID list and has been sent home to quarantine. So after their series against the White Sox in Chicago, Mike Clevinger flies home with the Cleveland Indians. And it turns out that Mike Clevinger was with Zach Plesac. However, little asterisk, little note you need to add in there that Clevinger was with Plesac. Clevinger never came back to the hotel, according to ESPN's Jeff Passan. Yeah, that's right. On Friday night, Zach Plesac, Mike Clevinger went on the town, and Mike Clevinger never went back to the freaking hotel. And then on Sunday, flew home with the Cleveland Indians to Cleveland on a plane. Entire team, coaching staff, training staff on the plane. And then they find out Monday, oh yeah, you were with him? So now not only did Mike Clevinger not tell anybody he broke quarantine rules, he got caught for never coming home and flew back with the team. First off, if I'm the Indians, I don't know if I cut him just because of his athletic ability. He's been with the team 4 years now. Solid pitcher. I don't know if I cut him, but a rest of season suspension might legitimately be in order. And I wouldn't be shocked if they hand down something outside of this quarantine because it's a rule. You can't leave the hotel. And if I'm the Indians, I'm definitely laying down some punishment on both these guys. Even though that hurts your chances, I'm laying that. You have to. You got to make an example. But just by sending them home, just by ratting them out, just by telling them to go quarantine for 14 days. And I didn't even mention Mike Clevinger was supposed to pitch tonight. And he's been scratched, obviously, because he's in quarantine. But, irony always comes back to bite, right? Because it's funny. So about a week ago, Mike Clevinger was on the mound. And this is what was shown on Fox Sports Cleveland, or Fox Sports Ohio, whatever the network is called there, when he was on the mound. First off, the graphic to the left didn't even work. The graphic on the left is just completely blank. It just says Mike Clevinger. That's it. And then as we know, the subtext, closed captioning, it typically isn't really good for sporting events because it's very fast paced, lots of other noises than announcers' voices. So the play-by-play announcer was captioned as saying, starting pitcher for the idiots. And how poetic is that, Mike Clevinger? You are a Cleveland idiot. You're not a Cleveland Indian. You're a Cleveland idiot who I'm just going to assume pulled a Lou Will and went to a strip club, but I don't think he went for the wings, and I don't think he came home. In fact, he didn't come home. Yeah, that's right. Mike Clevinger didn't go back to the hotel. I don't know how he got away with it. I don't know where he showed up. I don't know where he went. But I have a very good feeling that Mike Clevinger is in some deep trouble because he didn't come back home. I don't know if he's married. I didn't look up the marital status of Mike Clevinger, but I'm going to assume the 29-year-old pitcher is not only in trouble with the organization, because I just have a question. Has anybody been to Chicago at 3 a.m. on a Friday night? I'm just going to throw that out there. I have. Do you know what happens at 3 a.m. in Chicago on a Friday night? Lots of bad decisions. And Mike Clevinger not only made one by leaving the hotel, he made an even worse one by not coming back to the hotel like Zach Plesac did. He then doubled down on horrible decisions by flying home with the team, putting his entire team, coaching staff, and training staff at risk because nobody knows where the hell this guy was on Friday night. But when his teammate walked through the door of the hotel at 3 a.m., Mike Clevinger wasn't with him. So did he end up in a random apartment downtown Chicago? Odds are probably pretty high. But by God, how stupid can you be? This closed captioning wasn't an accident, although it happened a week before the incident. Now, Mike Clevinger deserves a shirt that says, not plural, the Cleveland idiot, because that is about as dumb and as low as you can stoop. And he took a page right out of the book of Lou Williams, I bet. He took a page right out of that book. I bet he was at a strip club or a bar or something, because dudes can't keep their hormones in check. And when you're traveling and playing baseball every day, I bet when you sneak out in a big city like Chicago in the middle of summer on a Friday night, yeah, you're probably going to find somebody that wouldn't mind spending the night with you. I mean, you're making seven figures. I bet Mike had a pretty good night, but he's not going to have a good next 2 weeks because he's not playing baseball. He's not getting paid. He broke the rules. In fact, he's going to be paying Major League Baseball, I bet, because he broke the rules right out. We'll see if he's back. We'll see if he's welcome back into the Cleveland clubhouse. Because, man, that is the first example of stupidity by Zach Plesac of this season. And then we realized Mike Clevinger brought it to a whole nother freaking level. He doubled down on Zach's stupid and went even further out. He didn't show back up. That's unbelievable. I mean, it is baffling that Mike Clevinger, how do you do that? Like, you know, good and well, it's a rule to not leave the hotel, but to not show back up, that is the epitome of idiocy. So that, my friends, is why we will call them, from this point forward, the Cleveland Idiots. The Cleveland Idiots, indeed. All right, it's the top of the hour. We're going to hit the little promo intro for hour 2. Stick with us. Just got to get through 1 minute of us talking stupid, and then we'll get to 4 p.m. headlines next. Oh, yeah, I'll fire it up on a Tuesday. Feeling good on a Thursday. I would have looked like a prick if I backed out after that. Travis Diener from downtown. It's 3:25 p.m. and the dude's drinking. I wish I was with him. But the NBA bubble is just reminiscent to me of a college frat house as the brand new men's basketball coach at UW Green Bay, Mr. Will Ryan, joins me. And now a right-handed pitcher for the Milwaukee Brewers. It is Mr. JP Fireeisen joining us on the Alex Strofe Show. Kyle really digging into the dictionary here today.
The magic of Brooke Lopez playing at Disney with the magic of Mickey Mouse on his side. Brooke Lopez is your Finals MVP.
You can't make this stuff up.
It's the Alex Strofe Show, presented by Cream City Central.
Rolling right into the 4 o'clock hour, and this is the Alex Strofe Show. On Tuesday, August 11, 2020, we appreciate you kicking it with us. I'm Alex Strofe, that's producer Kyle. We'll be rocking with you for the next hour, talking all things sports, but as we always do in the 4 o'clock hour, we're leading it off with headlines. Kyle with the news.
I got to pull up my notes here quick, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's
okay.
Prepared.
I wasn't
you
prepared.
Should be.
I mean, yeah.
You got to step it up, man. I give you the weekends off. I get that. But
you give me
when we come back
off
on Tuesday, you got to be sharp, man. We got to be moving at 100 miles an hour. All right, what you got?
I got them. All right, so 4 p.m. headlines, as we know. I wanted to bring this up a little bit because we talked on Thursday about The Rock purchasing the XFL.
Yeah.
And how I think with the cancellation of college sports, the XFL should implement a bubble of 18, because they had 8 teams in the fall. I think 8 teams is fairly... That's like the breaking point. I wouldn't go any more than 8 teams for a bubble for football. So the spring league, which I've never even heard of before, I'll get to a little bit before a little bit about it in a second. They're going to host a 6-team bubble in Las Vegas coming up in the fall. So they're actually the spring league is going to be more like the fall league. And for those of you who don't know what the spring league is, it's like a developmental football league. Johnny Manziel was a part of it. He had a cup of coffee in the spring league. It's basically a way for NFL cast-offs or college cast-offs to get another chance in front of CFL, NFL, any other professional indoor football league, maybe scouts, to kind of get a glimpse and one last hope of trying to get back into the professional football. And I thought it was interesting because it goes along with something that I saw from Pro Football Talk and Mike Florio, who most of the time, probably 9 times out of 10, I disagree with on pretty much everything. Mm-hmm. Football, whatever other crap takes he has. I usually disagree with Mike Florio. However, they posted an article, I believe it was yesterday morning actually, about how how Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, who just bought the XFL, should implement a bubble for college seniors and top college prospects. You're looking at, Trevor Lawrence, Jamar Chase, guys like that. Yep. Give them a chance to play. You don't have to, move to spring football. Like, well, obviously we've talked about how spring football for, the Big Ten is a horrible idea. And you don't have to move the NFL draft back. You could keep it where it is at the end of April. So something to think about. And I'm kind of excited. I no word on if these games are going to be televised or anything. I just happened to see.
They typically haven't been. No. Bleacher Report and Turner Sports has a deal with them though.
So you could see. I mean, TNT,
I think they stream
CBS.
it. I think they stream it on Bleacher Report Live. I think that's a thing, right? I'm not super in touch with Bleacher Report, but I know they have a deal because I've actually followed the spring league for like 4 years now.
Okay. Yeah, I just
not super closely. I follow them on Instagram and Twitter and stuff. But this is interesting. I didn't know this, Kyle. This is a good find. That's neat. I wondered if it will serve as an alternative now. Now that you bring this up, I wonder if that's possible.
Yeah, because there are a lot of players who have already come out in the last hour. Justin Fields being one of them, just tweeting "damn," because he wants to play.
Yeah, and I wonder what the legality situation is because I don't know it that well.
Well, I mean, if
Justin Fields say, you know what, screw you, Ohio State, and go to the spring league?
From what I heard, these players don't get paid in the spring league. So I don't know how that would work with eligibility, but I mean, if you're looking at a college senior or a top prospect who's going to eventually play play next season in the NFL in 2021, you're like, screw it. It's another way for me to play football. Obviously, you risk injury, but you would risk injury by playing in the 2020 college season.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to see some some leagues gain some steam, XFL being one, spring league being another. I think we're going to see some.
So when's the XFL supposed to come back?
I haven't heard anything.
I don't
think so.
Okay.
But I mean, if The Rock wants to capitalize on, as bad as it sounds, capitalize on the pandemic, this is a great way to do it.
It's not a bad way to say that. I mean, you obviously have to get your X's and O's and your I's and T's in place, but you gotta, yeah, I mean, there's an opportunity here. There's a shortage of sports. It's not a bad thing to say that you can capitalize on it as long as things are done well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
What's
all I
next?
got with that. So
Yeah.
and this coming out probably 5 minutes before we started the show today. The NBA is going to honor top players from their seeding games. This is a press release from the NBA. So they're going to announce, and I have heard this on Twitter. I've seen people replies, the joke TJ Warren, is like, bubble TJ Warren is just as good as Michael Jordan, jokes like that, whatever.
Not last night, but yeah, typically.
So
I had
the
him on my
NBA
FanDuel team last night, and he's the reason I didn't win any money. Go on.
If you put Brooke Lopez in tonight, I guarantee you.
I had Brooke Lopez.
Never
I
mind.
did, I swear. I had Bledsoe, Middleton, and Lopez, and they barely
Really?
played. So, well, I mean, they didn't barely play, but
Well, I mean,
Anyway.
put in Sterling Brown and DJ Wilson tonight, and you might
if I
make
would have
a
had
couple bucks.
Korver, dude, if I would have
Yeah.
had Kyle Korver,
Yeah.
wow, I would have made some bills, but it's
Yeah.
fine. I wasn't looking that far ahead. Tonight, though, yeah.
So a panel of sports writers and broadcasters who are there in Orlando. I believe Steve Novak is in Orlando. I don't know if he'll be included in this or not. They're going to be.
No, I don't
voting
think he is. Is he?
When I was watching the broadcast, I felt
No,
like
he
there.
was in Pfizer.
Okay, never mind. Don't listen to me. I don't know anything. So they're going to be voting on IKEA and IKEA, which is the sponsor, obviously.
Yep.
All seeding teams. So they're going to come up with the first and second all seeding games NBA teams. And they're also going to come up with a player of the seeding games, so like a seeding games MVP, basically.
TJ Warren's got to be in that conversation.
TJ
That's not
Warren,
even a joke.
Devin Booker,
Devin Booker.
Any white guy who shoots threes against the Bucks would also be a good option. Just a thought. Matt Thomas, I'm looking at you.
So you're right. So I don't know, man. I kind of like this. I kind of don't.
I mean, it's useless. I mean, it doesn't. I mean, it's nice to honor somebody.
It doesn't mean a damn thing because obviously, like the Bucks have been pretty much locked into the 1 seed the whole tournament. And
Yeah.
nobody's going to make a really good case for that because I don't think we see Giannis again tonight. I'd be surprised if we see Giannis the rest of the bubble seeding games, maybe besides one.
Well, there's
He
only
might-
2 more. Believe it or not, there's only 2 more,
6.
which is crazy.
So the
Playoff-
last
playoff
one's when?
started
Who do they
Thursday.
play on Thursday?
Memphis.
Memphis on Thursday, and that's at 3. So we'll do a 1 to 3 show again on Thursday. I forgot
Oh,
to
that's
mention
breaking
that
news
earlier.
here live on the show.
We'll do that again on Thursday, 1 to 3 show. But okay, interesting.
Yeah, I mean that just came out obviously as we were getting this stuff started here, and then we haven't really talked about Packers much today, so I wanted to bring something up here.
Yeah,
for those who complain or whatever about the Packers signing a wide receiver, well, you got your guy, and his name is Travis Fulgham.
That's your guy indeed, man.
Obviously, with Funchess opting out because of COVID, the only opt-out that the Packers have had, the only opt-out that they will have because the opt-out period is over for the NFL, without penalty, or however they work that, with still being able to get paid is what I should say.
Correct.
He was released by Detroit earlier in the offseason, 2019, so it tells you kind of how good he might be. Travis Fulgham, if you're watching, I'm sorry. 2019 6th-round draft pick, appeared in 3 games last season. But what I want to bring up, though, is he had 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns at Old Dominion. And I watched a little bit of his film from Old Dominion. And I got to say, he looks good.
Who does Old Dominion play?
I believe they're FCS.
So who does that wind them up in is that like Youngstown State?
It might be, yeah.
Okay.
I think Old Dominion. I don't know if it was in 2018, which was Fulgham's senior season. I know Old Dominion upset like Virginia Tech or something like 2-3 years ago.
Okay.
So I don't know. Maybe he had an impact. I didn't see any film in that, but pun intended there. Or
what's that? Maybe you had a hand in that?
Yeah. Was that a pun? Was that a pun from you, or
how was that a pun?
Well, because he's a wide receiver.
Well, no, that wasn't a damn pun, Kyle. But look, yeah, I don't know much about the guy. I'm not going to lie to you. I saw the spotting board. Good size, not great speed.
He's your stereotypical Packers receiver who they want to bring.
He fits right in. So we'll see. I mean, we heard Matt LaFleur and Brian Gutekunst over the weekend talk about the opportunities for guys that are undrafted or rookies or new signings that are borderline roster cuts. They're going to get more opportunities in post-practice scrimmages. So that will be where you will find a lot of Travis Fulgham for the rest, or not really the rest, once training camp actually begins. I believe Saturday is when they can actually start.
They start without pads, I believe, on Saturday.
On Saturday, then go pads Monday, I think, is the earliest you can do that. So we'll be seeing more of him starting next week. We'll see what happens. I mean, I doubt he makes the roster. Maybe practice squad or something like that.
Practice squads is expanded to 16. So
right, I know it was. So,
seems
but
like
the possibility of having like a kicker, a long snapper, and a punter on the practice squad are also very important this year. Because
especially
we only have one of those.
Especially with Mason Crosby still on the COVID list,
right?
And so Bradley's still on the So there you go.
Yeah.
And also this the Packers brought in former Seattle wide receiver Malik Taylor. I didn't have a banner for this headline. I just want to point out that the ruling, and I know this is your question.
This is what you're going to say. Yep.
So unless they find something where he's either injured or something, they're not. You can't bring in players for tryouts.
No, you bring them in to sign them. That's
yes. So we saw, I believe Cincinnati is going to be signing former Packers defensive lineman Mike Daniels.
Yep.
That's almost pretty much it hasn't been announced. I would assume that either
today or tomorrow.
They're going to announce that the Packers signed Malik Taylor.
Bengals. Sorry. Never mind. Sorry.
Bengals
I said Bengals because I thought you were going to say Mike Daniels, but you said Malik Taylor.
Well, you didn't even say Bengals. You said Bagels.
Well, maybe I'm hungry, Kyle.
Maybe you are. Sorry. Anyways, before you really interrupted me, this guy's expected to be signed too. So, I mean, if you're looking for your wide receivers, people complaining about the Packers eating another wide receiver, you got your two guys. You got Travis Fulgham and you got Malik Taylor.
This is like the one reason that a preseason would be a little bit fun because maybe we're going to see a breakout guy that we wouldn't.
Well, I think the breakout guy we have in the receiver room is already on the roster, and he was, a couple weeks ago. That guy is Reggie Begelton.
See, you're all on the Reggie train, aren't you?
I am.
Yeah. I'm still really riding the EQ wave, man. I think Equanimous St. Brown's going to have
I think both could make the roster. I'm just saying.
No, I think so too.
I just like that. What I've seen from Begelton, I've looked at his.
I just don't think he's going to have a huge impact this year. I think he'll be way down the depth chart. I think EQ could easily make a case for the number 2 guy.
Well, yeah, and how much of an impact did Jake Kumaro have last year? I think
exactly.
Begelton could have more of an impact.
But isn't he like 6'8"? He's like really
Begelton?
tall.
Well, yeah, he's a tall, athletic, not fast receiver. Exactly what the Packers want.
Exactly what.
If I was tall and athletic, I could be a Packers wide receiver because I'm not fast.
Okay.
But I'm neither tall or athletic.
Let's go with that. All right.
Well, here we go. Hold on. We got a hot take here in the comments. Begelton going to be wide receiver 2 by the end of the year. I like it.
That is a hot take. And Brandon, we appreciate you chiming in.
I don't think it's accurate, but I like it.
Yeah, I don't think it's accurate either, but I like the boldness that we're shooting out in mid-August. I do like that. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and crap on that take because I can't prove it wrong. I don't know a ton about him, right? I've seen the film. I've seen what he's done in the CFL, but how does that translate? And there's never a clear answer for how a guy translates from the CFL to the National Football League. So we'll see what happens. But I like that take, Brandon. Thanks for chiming in. All right, we got Luca Rosano joining us here in a few minutes to break down last night's Bucks and Raptors game. He's going to join us from Toronto, Canada, so that's exciting. First time we've crossed the border, I think, on this show. But Luca, a good friend of mine, really excited to chat with him. But all things NBA, really, but really about the top of the East, where the Bucks and Raptors are. Both of those teams know their placement for the first round. Milwaukee's got Orlando, Toronto's got Brooklyn, so we'll look at that a bit. We will look at what the teams actually look like because that's not what you saw last night. You didn't see Fred VanVleet. You didn't see Kyle Lowry. You didn't see Giannis. You're going to see those guys come the playoff time. So this is eventually, what we're going to see. The big takeaway from last night is when your second line is playing hefty minutes and it turns into an entertaining final stretch like it did. Of course, we'll take that. But neither of these teams strategically didn't show their true colors last night because of the impending meeting, what we assume will be the Eastern Conference Finals. And that's where, Nick Nurse and Mike Budenholzer, that's where they'll want to throw out every last trick they've got up the sleeve. Because right now, as we said, neither of these teams really cares about what happens the rest of the way in these seeding games. That's why last night you didn't see Giannis. Outside of obviously the oral surgery that happened, but that's why you didn't see him. That's why you didn't see Kyle Lowry. You didn't see Fred, blood eye drop. You didn't see those guys because this game really didn't matter. And that's what we've been saying for a few weeks, because we knew this was going to be the seeding come next week when the playoffs get underway. So they know they're locked in the standings. They know who their first round opponent is. And they just want to get the Monday night primetime game we had last night that doesn't feature their primetime players. They just wanted that over with. So we are going to take a break. My buddy Luca Rosano joins us next. We'll dive into all things Raptors, all things Bucks, all things Eastern Conference. So excited to chat with him. So let's get to a break. We'll have Luca next.
All right. So I was going to talk about Giannis here for obvious reasons, but we're talking about 3-point shooting. So I'm going to focus on George Hill, who before the end of the postponement of the season in March, George Hill was leading the league in 3-point shooting. However, the last 11 games of the regular season, he was actually shooting under 30%. He is 0 for these 3 scrimmages from 3-point line. So I'm a little concerned about if he can get his shooting touch back as the Bucks, go through these 8 seeding games, get ready for the playoffs. I know he was one that he has a ranch in Texas. He was quarantining there. He may not have been in the gym as much as some guys getting shots up. So maybe it's going to take him a while to get that shot back. If Brooks not hitting the threes, George Hill is going to have to step up and knock those down. If he's not doing that, I think it could spell some trouble for the Bucks.
Yeah. And, George Hill's a pro. He's been around for a long time. I don't know much regarding his playoff experience. Maybe when he was with Indiana, they might have gone to the playoffs a few times, but he just strikes me as the kind of composed player who I would be shocked if he doesn't put it together. And at least he's probably not going to get back to that 50% that he was shooting, but I would be shocked if he doesn't revert to the mean in terms of his average 3-point shooting.
Well, we welcome you back inside the Alex Stroh Show. I totally was not ready for that, but hello. We're going to go right to the guest line. Who's joining us via video? It's Luca Rosano out of Toronto, Canada, one of my best friends in the biz, one of the smartest guys when it comes to Toronto basketball. Luca, great to see your beautiful face. But first off, foremost, you safe, you healthy? How's everything going on your end, man?
I'm doing great, Alex. Thanks so much for having me on your show. And I got to say, man, I'm so proud of you. You've done great things with the show, a lot of great guests, and couldn't have happened to a better guy.
You're so sweet, too. Not only is he handsome, he's sweet, and he's knowledgeable. We've got the full package here with Luca Rosano. So, Luca, first off and foremost, Raptors win last night. I bet you couldn't wait to come on here and rub that in my face.
Oh, for sure, man. As soon as that final result came in, I was doing the live stream. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to have a good day tomorrow talking about this game with my buddy Alex. So,
yeah, so let's dive into it. I mean, obviously, right when you jumped in here and I was wrapping up last segment, you heard me running through the names that didn't play last night. So what's the big takeaway for you? For me, I mean, obviously, it was these guys who were 2 of the best coaches, undoubtedly, in the National Basketball Association. Didn't really want to throw the full bag of tricks at one another. So what was the takeaway for you last night in Toronto's victory?
Yeah, so we obviously knew key pieces were going to be missing from both sides closer to tip-off. Giannis, we knew around 3 o'clock Eastern, and then it was later found out that Lowry, Van Vliet, and Ibaka would be out. So I knew at that point this was going to be just, one of those games where we see what the other guys can do. And that was my biggest takeaway for the Raptors. The other guys stepped up. The next man up mentality came through. It was great to see a guy like, Norman Powell, who's traditionally always had success against the Bucks. He started in this one. He had 21 points. And then you look at the other guys, Matt Thomas and Chris Boucher, respectively. Both of those guys dropping career highs in points, 25 for Boucher, who put on a little bit of size coming into the bubble. And Matt Thomas, a guy that I want to see get more playing time down the stretch. We know how big it is for a team to get production, especially from a 3-point shooter. And Matt Thomas, when he's in the zone, he had a couple of big shots last night. So it was good to see the bench step up. It was good to see those guys getting minutes and those guys getting theirs. And the Raptors beat a Bucks team that I thought was going to still end up winning this game because yes, they were without their MVP in Giannis, but the Bucks basically weren't missing anybody else. They put out their starters. They're playing them heavy minutes. Budenholzer elected to keep them in, and the Raptors were able to come away with the victory. Although it did get interesting late, they were able to hold on. And I actually like the fact that Nick Nurse did let that group play it out. I know there was question marks with people questioning, where's Siakam? How come the starters aren't coming back in? I'm glad that Nick Nurse allowed that group to essentially pull it out as they did.
You bring up Matt Thomas, Luca. 37 minutes for him last night. That was by far the game high. I think he might have been, in fact, the only guy to clock over 30 minutes besides Eric Bledsoe was right at 30. Why all the minutes for Matt Thomas all of a sudden? I know you mentioned you wanted to see more minutes out of him, and obviously with the way he played last night, I don't freaking blame you at all. But 37 minutes is a lot of minutes.
Yeah, well, you know what? Nick Nurse has had high praise for Matt Thomas in the past. He's gone on record to saying that he reminds him of a JJ Redick type of player. And I agree. When Matt Thomas is in the zone, I don't think there's another role player right now who's better at shooting the basketball. Obviously, you got guys like JJ Redick, Kyle Korver, who have been around forever. But Matt Thomas is one of those hidden gems, as I like to call it. I did a video on this a couple weeks ago where he just hasn't been given the opportunity. And I think that's because the Raptors are just so deep that it is an issue at times for Nick Nurse to, throw minutes around and get everybody involved, because you literally can run, a rotation that goes 11 to 12 guys deep. So I think we're going to see more Matt Thomas because, like you said earlier, both of these teams are situated where they're going to be situated in playoff time. These final two games for the Raptors not going to be important. We got the Sixers tomorrow night, and then we wrap things up Friday afternoon against the Nuggets. So I think Nick Nurse is going to go heavier on a guy like Matt Thomas. We're going to see much more of Terrence Davis, Norman Powell, Chris Boucher, and even a guy like Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, who was playing basically up until the final buzzer in last night's win.
Yeah, and Luca, I want to ask about, the difference between, outside of the bubble, what we saw March and previous to when the bubble started, but I don't think that's a fair question for either the Bucks or the Raptors, right? Because we kind of knew that this would be, kind of a let's ride out the wave until we get to the playoffs type of scenario for both teams. And that's obviously what it was last night for the most part. So I'm going to ask it, and you might not even be able to give me an answer. Is there a big difference between those two periods for the Raptors that you've noticed in the several games we've seen in the bubble?
Comparing it from the performance that we saw last night?
Comparing what we've seen in the bubble versus what we saw before the season was canceled. I'm sorry.
So, you know what? The major difference to me from the Raptors perspective has been that, a guy like Pascal Siakam, I don't know what it was for him, but he seemed like a guy who had maybe lost a bit of that pep in his step. He was sloppy in some of those games that the Raptors had early on, in some of those victories that the Raptors had early on. Siakam wasn't a guy that we were calling his name. Guys like Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet stepped up and had big games. So some of these guys, Siakam included, they lost a little bit of that momentum that they had. Granted, a lot of these players did. Anytime you got to take 4 months off, you don't know how that's going to affect your game. But at the same time, this was the first time, Alex, since the start of the season where the Raptors came into a period 100% healthy at full strength. And we couldn't say that after game one of the regular season because you had so many important guys on this team missing time, whether it was Siakam missing a stretch, whether it was Kyle Lowry missing a stretch, Norman Powell. At one point, I felt so bad because I was saying to myself, he's playing some of the best basketball of his career and he just can't stay healthy. So Marcus Gasol being another. So I was really looking forward to this group finally coming together, being healthy, and showing the world what they can truly do. And we've seen flashes of brilliance so far from everybody. But like I said, I do want to see Siakam get back into the rhythm because when push comes to shove, the Raptors are going to need him to come up big late and close out games, kind of like he did in that win against the Grizzlies, which officially clinched the number 2 seed for the Raps.
And push comes to shove officially next week, Luca, and your draw now. Toronto gets Brooklyn, Milwaukee gets Orlando. Those two series already set in stone. So what do you know about What do you know about Brooklyn? What are you expecting as we get into this first round, right? It should be an easy win for Toronto, as it should be for Milwaukee. But what are you looking forward to as we get some real basketball where the real competition and the pedal to the metal really starts next week for Toronto?
Well, I'll say this. I'm not going to sleep on the Brooklyn Nets. Of course, they're missing some major pieces, but I remember last time the Raptors took on the Nets, Karis LeVert absolutely went off. And you look at what this Nets team has been able to do in the bubble, a couple impressive wins. I mean, beating the likes of a Clippers team. I know they have kind of looked shaky along with the other LA team and the Lakers, but this Nets team, you cannot take them lightly. And I think they're going to be dangerous because they have that nothing to lose mentality. They're not expected to do anything. Everybody's looking to next year and beyond when guys like KD and Kyrie get back into the fold. So the fact that this team is essentially playing with house money, that's very scary. The Raptors cannot afford to get off to a slow start, kind of what they did, to begin that series last year in the first round against the Magic. If you remember, they dropped game one. They lost that game outright. That was horrible to watch as a fan. We cannot afford that this time because I think that's what's going to be the interesting part about the bubble playoffs, Alex, is the fact that we could see some, things happen that you typically wouldn't see in the past. There's no fans. This is uncharted territory. The element is unknown. So if you run into a team that is playing hot basketball, as we've seen with the Phoenix Suns, you just don't know where you're going to get. Now, that being said, I'm not going to sit here and say that I think the Nets are going to beat the Raptors in a 7-game series, but I wouldn't be surprised if they take 1 or 2 games. And that's going to be telling of the Raptors' preparation coming into this one, if they're going to take them lightly or if they're going to take the Nets as a serious and viable opponent, as they should.
Luca Rosano is my guest. He is a sports media personality, kind of wherever you can find him. He's got 14,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's a really small number, Luca. You should get that up.
I
know. You're big into TikTok, right? And I said earlier to ask you about this, and I want to ask what you do on there because you've been relatively successful as far as I'm aware.
That's actually my, the platform that I have the most followers. And it's funny because I've been doing YouTube for 3 years and I just cracked 14K. I've been doing TikTok for 6 months and I've already amassed over 15K. So I'm not going to come on here and sound like I'm a TikTok expert by any means, but basically I've just been putting out content daily on that app. I mean, I'm not singing or dancing like you see most
That's
of
disappointing.
Other people doing, but I'm basically just putting out some of the basketball takes that I have. I'm, putting out content from my YouTube channel on TikTok, which I found lately has been a pretty good strategy. But who knows? Maybe if I start singing and dancing, I'll have 100K before the end of the year.
Yeah, we need to get you at least to do one dance. Like, I don't know what it'll take. Maybe an Eastern Conference Finals bet or something. But we'll talk about that later. Luca Rosano, my guest here on the Alex Stroh Show. I want to go back to basketball now. We'll get away from TikTok. So you mentioned, right? Obviously, it's a bubble, no fans. Weird momentum swings have happened, like Phoenix, as you mentioned. When you look at the Eastern Conference, is there any team outside of that top 2, right? Milwaukee, Toronto, we'll count them out. Of the other 6 that will make the playoffs, is there a really scary contender to you? We saw what TJ Warren's done with Indiana. We know Miami can be a threat to just about anybody. Who are you most scared of outside of Milwaukee and Toronto to get out of the East?
It's the team that was up by 40 against us on Friday, and that is the Boston Celtics. That is a team I think a lot of people aren't taking seriously. This is a team that not too long ago, they pushed LeBron to the brink, and that young group at that time was very close to an NBA Finals. You look at the development of a guy like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They have, played really well in this bubble. They really played well in that game against the Raptors. And that's a team that's, always given teams like the Raptors and Milwaukee some trouble. So I look at the Celtics, very well coached, of course, in Brad Stevens. They got hard-nosed players. They play hard defensively. They got to get more from their second unit if they want to be a legitimate finals contender. But if that second unit could come in and give them some consistent production, I look at the Celtics as, my top third contender. After the Bucks and the Raptors have been in that top three, and then outside of them, I got to go with the Miami Heat. I mean, they've been the obvious choice in many people's eyes to challenge your Bucks in the second round. That was a big win for them against the Pacers yesterday. They officially put an end maybe to this TJ Warren frenzy that we've been seeing. I mean, the dude's been playing like Michael Jordan these last couple of weeks. Miami's another team, and the Raptors saw them. They almost erased a 17-point deficit and ended up almost winning that game. They got obviously playmakers in Jimmy Butler, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, who I know he's been touted as that guy that can maybe not slow down Giannis, but at least try to stop him in some way. To me, Celtics, Heat, Bucks, Raptors, one of those four teams getting out of the East and making it to the finals. Yeah,
the playoffs are going to be really fun, especially come the second round. They are every year. But, I mean, this year, especially in the East, it's going to be real competitive with those top four seeds. Let's move over to the West. I'm curious about that battle for the 8 seed. The 8 through 11 seeds in the West technically are separated by a game. I mean, it is anybody's game over there. So put on your predictor's hat, man. Who's going to come out as the 8 seed and get to challenge LeBron James in the first round?
Oh, man. So I'm torn here. What I think is going to happen is the Blazers get in. They're playing hot right now. Dame Lillard, another 50-plus point performance. He's in the zone, especially after all that, trash talk that was thrown his way by the Clippers the other day. I think he's just on another level. He wants to get in. He'll do whatever it takes to get his team in. So I think the Blazers get in. But if you ask me who I would love to see,
Phoenix.
It's Phoenix. I mean, how could you not want to see them get in after what they're doing? Currently undefeated in the bubble. I believe they're taking on the Sixers right now. So let's see if they can, make it 7-0. They have just been such a fun team to watch. Devin Booker, unreal. I mean, did you see that 3 he hit the other day, literally from almost half court? Like, are you kidding me? He's in the zone. If Phoenix doesn't get in, their future's bright.
Yeah, their future is bright, obviously. Devin Booker, one of the bright young stars, and DeAndre Ayton looked like he's starting to find his feet a bit, but really, just really unbelievable what Phoenix has been able to put together in this bubble, Lucas. So last one before I let you go. You do a lot of stuff, and you'll explain it a whole lot better than me. Even though I know what you do, you just explain it better. So go ahead, plug away, tell us what you got going on, and as always, appreciate the time.
Now, I appreciate you having me, man. Again, congratulations on all your success with this show. And you can find me anywhere. You can find me on YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I classify myself as an independent sports media personality. I've been grinding since day one, as you know, and I've kind of niched into my Raptors lane here, covering the team heavily on YouTube and all those other platforms. So, if you guys like basketball, definitely check me out.
Most definitely. And Luca, assuming Toronto makes it to the Eastern Conference Finals, put me on your calendar sometime during that stretch, because we'll definitely chop it up again soon. All right, my friend?
For sure. And I hope there's a bet involved in that.
If it's Bucks Raptors, we'll definitely make one happen. That's Luca Rosano, who is just one of the best in the biz, one of my great friends, and really knows his stuff, really makes it fun. And yes, we will definitely get a bet involved if that happens. Bucks, I mean, that would be a fun series. I'm just saying. Bucks Raptors would be a lot of fun. All right, we are going to take a timeout. On the other side, we've got some more Bucks to talk about as they are in action later tonight against the Washington Wizards. Lengthy injury report from Milwaukee, but we've got some Packer stuff to talk about too as well, because it is a birthday today. So we'll do that next. This is the Alex Stroh Show, presented by Cream City Central.
David Bakhtiari. Should the Packers just pay the guy whatever they want or whatever he wants? Should they try to negotiate? Will he get a little bit of a hometown discount? How do you foresee that playing? Because this could go many ways with Bakhtiari.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on the fact that he is a top, if not top 3 in the league. I really think that bringing David Bakhtiari back is a priority this offseason. We do some big names along with the Kenny Clark that we have to also make fit in that. The biggest worry that I have is if we sign him for a big amount of money, we won't be able to bring back people like Aaron Jones or Kevin King, which I don't think either one of them may come back. But I really do feel that bringing David Bakhtiari back should be a priority for any team. If you have a left tackle that good, it's going to be a priority. I personally just feel that bringing him back would not only elevate our line with the young people we have brought in this draft, but it would also elevate that leadership in the room that we need. So it keeps it at a level we need it at.
Yeah, Bakhtiari is a solid leader on that offensive line. A guy who's protected Aaron Rodgers since 2014, I believe. No, 2012. I can't remember. But Bakhtiari has definitely acted as a professional when coming to talk about his contract. That was a short clip from the Lambeau Lead, Cream City Central's only Packers podcast. Make sure to check it out today.
It's the Alex Strofe Show, presented by Cream City Central.
What's up? Welcome back in. This is the Alex Strofe Show presented by Cream City Central. Big thanks again to Luca Rosano. Awesome stuff from him, and we'll have him back, no doubt about it, as we get into the NBA playoffs. And it looks like it will be Raptors-Bucks. That's just likely what it'll boil down to. So we'll have plenty of stuff to dissect with Luca Rosano in the coming months, but I'm going to knock on wood just in case, because it is because we never know what'll happen. We never know what'll happen. But first off, let's dive into tonight's Bucks game and some other things surrounding the bubble. The Bucks, who already have locked up the 1 seed, take on the Washington Wizards, who have already been eliminated tonight. So this game, absolutely meaningless. And I've said this about the other games, but there has not been a game played in the bubble more meaningless than this one. This is the meaningless-ist game. I just made up a word. That's how meaningless it is. Because the Wizards, as mentioned, are eliminated. 24-46 their record right now. That is atrocious. And the Bucks locked up the 1 seed, 55-16. So your injury report is the following: Giannis is questionable, probably out with the oral surgery he had. Eric Bledsoe, Chris Middleton, Dante DiVincenzo, and Wesley Matthews, who only played 2 minutes last night, all out. So tonight we're gonna have quite the squad on the floor, man. Gonna be a good look Bucks team tonight. Maybe Kyle Korver can hit 5 more threes tonight for the Bucks as they take on the Wizards. But look, it's not a big game. It's not an important game. It's a game where DJ Wilson's going to play 25 minutes and probably have a breakout game. And producer Kyle's going to be thrilled with that. To give you updates of what's going on in the bubble right now, halftime is just about to begin. There's 10 seconds left in the first half between the Suns and the Sixers. Oh, just kidding. It just went to halftime. Phoenix leads 63-58. And at the end of the first quarter, Boston on top of Memphis, 24-15. Memphis currently hanging on to the 8th seed in the Western Conference. And Boston, they are locked into their spot just about in the 3 seed in the Eastern Conference. So big game for Memphis, not so much for Boston going on right now. But the rest of your NBA slate tonight at 5:30, Portland and Dallas. That'll be a fun one. Dallas already locked up the 7 seed, but Portland's still in the race. So that'll be a fun one to watch. And the other game in the Western Conference, not so much. 2 eliminated teams going at it, Sacramento and New Orleans. That's a wash. Nobody's going to watch that one. Luckily, it starts at the same time as Milwaukee and Washington. So the slate tonight, not as exciting as it's been in past nights. The only real game that I want to see that hasn't already been played today is Portland and Dallas. But luckily, we will catch the end of that Phoenix and Philadelphia game once we're off the air here in about 20 minutes. So that is your look at the bubble today. How do the Bucks have 31 more wins than the Wizards? And the Wizards got invited to the bubble. Like, I know the Bucks are the 1 seed, but they've only won 2 games in the bubble. 31 more wins than the Wizards, and the Wizards are still in. That's the Eastern Conference always shakes out so weird, so weird. So that's pretty much it on Bucks talk. Producer Kyle joins me now as we dive into a small Packers segment of the day. Today is the 101st birthday of the Green Bay Packers.
It sure is, yeah.
And there is a picture of the 1919 Green Bay Packers team. It was at the Green Bay Press-Gazette building in Green Bay. Curly Lambeau put together a couple of local athletes at the Green Bay Press-Gazette building in Green Bay, and they took this picture on this day in 1919.
How about that? Look at them jerseys, huh?
Those helmets are the best part, man. I remember I went to a Green
There's
Bay.
only one guy wearing a helmet.
Way in the back there. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
he's front and center, not front. He's back and center.
Yeah.
But that's right where my eyes went to. I remember the Green Bay Blizzard used to give out helmets like that, and I had one
Oh,
for
yeah.
a long time when I was a kid. So there you go. That's a historical blurry image for you. So the Packers turned 101 today. How about you give me your favorite moment in the last 101 years, Kyle, of the Packers?
There's
history?
a lot to choose from.
It's a laundry list, man, for sure.
13 NFL championships, 13-time world champions, numerous playoff victories, numerous Hall of Famers, blah blah blah. But the one I want to bring up is not one that I don't think a lot of people would choose, and that's part of the reason why I pick it. Is I don't like I like to stay away from you
don't like being a
with
normie,
trend.
huh?
I don't like being on trend. That's boring. So I wanted to pick the Roger. I should have brought up video of this, but whatever. I had too much time going on, too much other stuff to work on before we started here.
Right.
I wanted to bring up the Rodgers to Randall Cobb 4th and 8 Hail Mary, I guess you could say. I don't know if it was really Hail Mary or not.
Oh yeah.
Week 17 of the 2013 season, just for so many reasons.
All time, man. That's
One, you beat the Bears to win a division.
Yep.
At Soldier Field, no less. Rodgers comes back and sticks it to the team that injured him earlier in that 2013 season. And on top of that, I called the play.
Oh, did you?
I was with my older brother and his.
I have to take your word for this, though.
You
And
do.
I will.
I don't have any video evidence of this.
It's okay.
I was with my older brother and his girlfriend, now wife, girlfriend at the time, and we were watching the game. And I'm like, you know what? It was 4th and 8. I'm like, you know what? Rodgers is going to the end zone. I remember saying it. I didn't say. I guess I shouldn't say I predicted the play word for word. I just said Rodgers is going to the end zone. Rodgers went to the end zone. Chris Conte, famous botched coverage, left Randall Cobb on one-on-one. I don't know who the corner was covering him, but I know Chris Conte, the safety, blew safety over the top coverage, and Aaron Rodgers, like he always does, torches the Bears. That's my favorite moment out of the last 101 seasons in Green Bay.
Okay, I like it. Mine is pretty normal. It was the Super Bowl I was alive for, Super Bowl 45, back in February of 2011. Now, as I did on Thursday, I was 1 point off of calling the score correctly.
Yeah.
So I won. I was what? How old was I in 11?
I was 10, so you probably would have been 11,
I think I was like freshly 12. Yeah.
Okay.
And we had like a little pool for $20 or whatever it was.
In February.
with my dad.
That's a bold
No,
choice.
like money pool. Like
okay.
like a pool
I thought
to
you
call
meant
the
like
score.
swimming
I predicted the
pool.
score. I predicted the score would be 31-24. It was 31-25. Was
There
the
you
final.
go. There you go.
So that's just a note. As you said, you called it. That made me remember that part of that story. But anyway, as you know, I was born and raised in Green Bay. So what was it? The next day or the day after? Whenever the parade was, the next day. It was the following day. Went down to the parade. I won't get too detailed here. I kind of want
you to get detailed.
I want you to keep in mind that I was 12, so it's not like I was drunk or hungover or anything. I don't know what it was, but all of a sudden I started yakking. I just started throwing chunks, right? And on the sidewalk on whatever street we were, I think Lombardi Ave or something, waiting for the parade to start. And all of a sudden, I can't see anything. Then all of a sudden I can't hear anything. Then all of a sudden I'm not conscious. And then all of a sudden I wake up in the back of an ambulance. I passed out at the Packers Super Bowl 45 parade. Literally fainted. They blamed it on dehydration. I don't think that was the case, but I mean, it was 10 years ago now. Who cares?
Wow.
But yeah, so I actually had to watch the Packers Super Bowl 45 parade from a crappy TV in a hospital bed.
Well, that's better. That's better. I don't have a huge memory of that day, but I do have a little bit. I remember being in school because I believe that it was a Monday. So my parents made me go to school the next day.
Were you in Green Bay schools at that point?
Yes, I was.
I thought they canceled class. I thought they canceled school that Monday after. Maybe not. I could be wrong.
I don't know. They should have if they didn't.
I think
like
they
I said,
canceled
my memory is very vague on this.
Okay.
I remember a bunch of people leaving to go to the parade. So they had to have school that day. Because I remember a bunch of people leaving because the parade was like, what, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon?
Maybe it was
probably?
optional then. It might have been optional
Yeah.
or something. Yeah, it was in the afternoon.
Yeah, and my parents made me go to school because thanks mom and thanks dad for that. And I remember just a bunch of people leave. I knew why, and I was like, why? I wanted to go to this. Like, I want to sit out in the cold and watch. I mean, it's history.
It's history, absolutely.
Because I believe it. I mean, it may be the only
So
time.
who had it better then? Would be the question I posed. Did you have it better in a classroom, or did I have it better in a hospital bed?
I remember being in the computer lab, actually, probably playing math games. So honestly, I'm gonna go with myself.
I bet you had it better too. And you want to know? I'm going to double down on this because I actually forgot this is what happened. I think it was like 2 days later. I was still at home because I was just not feeling good, obviously.
Yeah.
And Rey Mysterio, the WWE superstar, came to my middle school and spoke to only our grade. So all of my friends met Rey Mysterio.
Oh,
and I
no.
was sick at home. So that was that week.
Oh, that sucks.
So while my favorite memory is, of course, a Super Bowl 45 victory, 31-25 over Pittsburgh, that was a bad week for me. Wasn't a good week.
You were shot up and you went down.
I mean, I hit the ultimate high. The highest I've ever been probably in my life was after the Packers won the Super Bowl. I went out into the snow, me, my dad, and my brother. I'll never forget this. We made a Super Bowl trophy out of snow.
There you go.
And then, the next 3 days were no fun for me. But there's my story. Yeah, I haven't told that story on air before. So there you go. That's what happened to me at the Super Bowl 45 parade. But I want to jump into a little audio. Lots of media stuff finally back. So we're gonna have a lot of Packers audio and video to go through the next couple weeks. But I clipped up some Jair Alexander video from yesterday. I'm sure some of you have seen it because I tweeted it yesterday. But here's 30 seconds from the Jair Alexander presser yesterday. Just some of my favorite Jair Alexander moments.
You ended up with only 2. How do you get that number up? Because that's one of the ways that guys get voted to the Pro Bowl, obviously.
Just catch the ball.
Hey, Jair, nice shades. What do you think you're elite?
What? Yeah.
How so?
It's just that unwavering belief that I have in myself.
So that was Jair Alexander. Just fantastic stuff from him yesterday.
Was that Aaron Nagler who asked that last question about him being elite?
No, that
sounds like it was Aaron Nagler.
I think that was Wildy, if I'm not mistaken.
Either way, I mean, fantastic question.
Yeah, fantastic question indeed. This is what Matt LaFleur said today about Jair Alexander.
So much to like about Ja. First of all, I love being around him. I've told him a million times. He's got such an infectious energy, not only for everybody, not only the guys on defense, but I think our entire team. I love how he competes on a daily basis, and I think he's a premier corner in this league.
Now, so he calls him an elite, a premier corner in the league. Jair Alexander, when asked, is he elite, said this.
What? Yeah.
What? Yeah. Fantastic. I mean, Jair Alexander, the glasses, the answers, just all phenomenal yesterday. He's confident, and we are here for it. That is a suitable banner at the bottom of us here, Kyle. Look, what's the takeaway from Jair Alexander's presser, Matt LaFleur's pressers that we've seen in the last week? The big thing I take away, Kyle, is yes, Jair Alexander is confident. Yes, this whole team's confident is what it seems. I mean, nobody is letting the COVID questions, the COVID pandemic really change their feelings for this upcoming season. They're here to play football. And Jair Alexander is confident that he could do it at a high level. And as is Matt LaFleur, clearly. So I'll pose this. What do you expect from Jair Alexander in 2020?
I expect it's so hard because, I want to talk about all this. And at the back of my mind, I'm like, I don't even know if football's going to happen. I know we don't want to talk about
Let's just imagine it's happening without any bumps and bruises. We're having a full season.
I wish we could imagine that.
Me too.
he's improved every single year he's been in the league, and I expect him to do it again. I remember watching his game against Dallas when he got torched by Amari Cooper. He had an interception, but it was kind of a gimme by Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
I remember him getting torched, and then I remember either the next day or sometime that week after, while they were preparing for, I don't remember who they played after Dallas. Detroit, sorry. I don't know. Anyways, he was talking about how he didn't even let it faze him. He did not let his past mistakes faze him, which I applaud him for immensely.
Right.
And I think that's the key to his success is the fact that he can basically just forget about the negative and just focus on what's ahead of him. And I think that's going to be a huge reason why he's going to be why I think it's going to be an all-pro cornerback this year, next year, or sometime within the next 3 years.
It's kind of crazy to think, and maybe it's partially because this year has felt like it's been going on so long, but it's crazy to think Jair Alexander's only entering his third year in the league. He's only been in the league 2 years. And we talk about him being a premier corner, one of the top in the league, top in the division. And he's clearly developing into that. So I do expect things. I mean, he is a true number one corner. He really has been since midway through his rookie season. He has stepped up and been that guy for Green Bay since they drafted him 16th or 17th overall, out of Louisville. So I'm thrilled with what he's done, his production. And clearly the confidence has not wavered. This undeniable confidence, self-confidence more so, that he's continuing to show. I'm impressed with him in the press conference. I've been constantly impressed with him on the field. I'm excited to see what he does. Obviously, the Kevin King contract is a big thing. This is Kevin King's potentially final year in Green Bay. So it'll be interesting to see what Jair does a year ahead of his contract year. So, so all good on the side of Jair Alexander. That is pretty much all I have on Packers, Kyle. Anything else you got in that front?
I want his glasses. I mean,
me too, dude. Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I mean,
all right. Let's take a final look at your Twitter poll today. Who is hurt most by the Big Ten football season postponement? Your options are student athletes, local economies, or athletic departments. Everybody dismissed that final option. Your final today. Yeah, nobody said the NFL because nobody feels.
I should have voted for NFL just for the. I did not. I voted for the student athletes. I mean, I think it's really the only. I hate to say the only obvious answer because I mean we were the ones that put the poll out, but
see, I went with local economies because I don't think postponement is only going to be postponement. I think it's going to be ultimately a cancellation, and that's what we talked about.
I have a couple pieces of breaking news here regarding NCAA as a whole.
Oh, here we go.
First, I want to point out. Never mind. Actually, I just got faked out. That is a fake account. Never mind. But I do have another piece of breaking news here.
I'm so glad that didn't happen.
From the ACC. Let me point it out. Someone retweeted this. I'm not going to say who because I'm not going to embarrass them. Pretty high-known media person had just retweeted this. But somebody with 12...
Well, then embarrass them if they're 13, highly known. Who is it?
Brian Butch. You know who Brian Butch is?
Yeah, I know who Brian Butch is.
He just retweeted this from Bruce Feldman, but this is... it looks like a fake account because it's only got 13 followers and
that would make a lot of sense.
Isn't following anybody. Source... Obviously, this is fake news here. Nebraska has reached out to SEC in hopes of having a fall season. SEC has not released dates for new schedule yet and is open to adding more teams onto the schedule. Obviously, I just that's not the case because I mean I'm lucky I got caught before I said it as fact, but it's not. But I do want to bring this up from the ACC, and this is their verified account, so this is real news here. This is a statement regarding fall sports from the ACC. The ACC will continue to make decisions based on medical advice, inclusive of our medical advisory group, local and state health guidelines, and do so in a way that appropriately coincides with our university's academic missions. The safety of our students, staff, and overall campus communities will always be our top priority, and we are pleased with the protocols being administered on our 15 campuses. We will continue to follow our process that has been in place for the last few months and has served us well. Mm-hmm. ACC's on. They're not canceling. As of right now, they are not canceling, is what I get from that statement.
Right. And that doesn't shock me, right? I mean, you have a lot of powerhouse teams, in the ACC, and now Notre Dame is added to that. Let's not forget that. Notre Dame joined the conference for football like a week ago. You've got Clemson in there as well. So, I mean, it's not – and obviously South Carolina. I mean, you can let these conversations go on and on. It's a very big deal for pretty much any conference. I mean, you can make the same case for the Big Ten, right? Wisconsin and Michigan and Ohio State and so on and so forth, Penn State. But when you look at the ACC, you've got Notre Dame and Clemson, who are two of the biggest – I'm not talking just football here – two of the biggest college programs in the country in the ACC. So this doesn't shock me. They'll do it eventually. I think the plug will eventually be pulled. Do you think it will be in a world where 3 of the 5 Power 5 conferences are still playing? That would be insane.
The Big 12 has a lot of power here in this situation because the ACC and SEC, obviously their opinion is they want to have football and they're going to have it. Not football, fall sports in general. The Big 12 is on the fence here, and I think whatever the Big 12 does will shape the rest of college football this season. If they decide to have a season, the ACC and SEC are going to be like, well, we're going to continue on with our seasons, but the ACC and SEC will have a lot more pressure if the Big 12 decides to cancel fall sports. So, I mean, whenever I would assume that we're going to find that out, hopefully by Thursday. I would love to have that on and talk and break that down. But if not, I would think by the end of the week, the Big 12
I think so. I think if not early next week, make it a Monday news dump or something. All right. So that's pretty much all we got for you today. We appreciate everybody stopping by. Big thanks to my friend Luca Rosano, as well as Eric Bookinger of Deceptive Speed for dropping by, hanging out, providing some perspective as always. Big thanks to producer Kyle running the sticks back in Green Bay. We'll be back on Thursday, 1 to 3 p.m. on Thursday, since the Bucks play at 3 again this week on Thursday. Final regular season bubble game, though. So hopefully not too many more of those. So big thanks again to Bookinger, to Rosano, to producer Kyle. I'm Alex Stroh. Thanks for stopping by. We'll talk to you on Thursday.